There's a reason chess masters don't announce their next 3 moves. There's a reason billionaires drive old cars. There's a reason the most dangerous people in any room are often the quietest. They understand something most people learn too late. Information is the currency of control. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to make friends. He wrote it because he watched kingdoms fall, not from external armies, but from internal leaks. One trusted advisor, one careless confession, one moment of misplaced honesty, and the empire crumbled. Today, I'm going to show you the 7 pieces of information that, once revealed, turn you from a player into a pawn. These aren't obvious. That's what makes them lethal. You think you're being authentic. You think you're building connection. You're actually painting targets on your own back. Pay attention. This isn't theory. This is survival. If you're serious about power, hit subscribe. The people who subscribe to this channel will learn what the masses never will. Are you in or out? Lock 1. The blueprint. Here's what nobody tells you about announcing your plans. The moment you speak your vision, you activate everyone else's fear. Not support. Fear. Because your evolution threatens their comfort. Your ambition exposes their stagnation. And humans, when threatened, don't cheer. They sabotage. Picture this. You're building something in silence. 6 months pass. Then one day you emerge with results. Your critics had no ammunition. Your doubters had nothing to doubt. You simply appeared, already victorious. Now reverse it. You announce the same plan on day 1. Suddenly everyone's an expert. That's been tried before. The market's saturated. Are you sure you have the skills for that? Same plan, different outcome. Why? Because premature revelation invites interference. Here's the psychology. When you share unfinished work, you trigger what researchers call social reality testing. Your brain starts incorporating external doubt into internal decision-making. You begin adjusting your vision, not for strategic improvement, but for social approval. You water down your revolution to get permission from people who never revolutionized anything. The most powerful moves in history were never telegraphed. Steve Jobs didn't announce the iPhone years in advance. Bezos didn't share Amazon's full strategy while still in his garage. Caesar crossed the Rubicon without a press conference. Why? Because surprise is a weapon that can only be used once. And here's what really happens when you share your next move. People categorize you. They put you in a box. Oh, he's trying to be that type of guy now. They create a mental model of your ceiling before you've even started building. But when you move in silence, they have to adjust their entire perception of you after the fact. By then it's too late to stop you. So ask yourself, who have you told about your next move? What did you gain? Really think about it. Did their reaction give you resources, connections, or actionable insight? Or did it just give you a temporary hit of validation that wore off by morning? Stop feeding your ego and start feeding your execution. Lock 2. The fracture. Your weakness is not a badge. It's a blueprint for your destruction. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, kept his deepest struggles in private journals. Not because he was ashamed, but because he understood. Vulnerability without discernment is not courage. It's ammunition distribution. Let me be direct. Most people who ask about your struggles don't want to help you carry the weight. They want to confirm you're carrying it. Because your visible struggle makes them feel better about their invisible ones. Think about the last time you opened up to someone about what you're dealing with. Maybe it was anxiety. Maybe it was a family wound. Maybe it was a fear you've carried since childhood. How did they respond? Not in the moment. Anyone can fake sympathy. How did they treat you 6 weeks later? Did they respect you more? Or did something shift? Here's what actually happens. Your confession becomes their context. Every decision you make afterwards gets filtered through their knowledge of your weakness. You speak with authority, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking about what you told them. He talks big, but I know what he's really dealing with. And the truly dangerous part? Your enemies are often people you armed yourself. That friend who remembered your insecurity during an argument. You gave them that weapon. That colleague who questions your stability. You handed them the evidence. That ex who exposed your deepest fear after the breakup. You were the supplier. Now, I'm not saying suffer in isolation. I'm saying be ruthlessly selective about who earns access to your wounds. A therapist who is ethically bound to confidentiality, yes. A mentor who has already mastered what you're struggling with, perhaps. Your emotionally reactive friend who can't manage their own life. Absolutely not. Here's the test. Before you share a weakness, ask yourself, if this person turned into my enemy tomorrow, how would they use this information? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, guard that information with your life. Because in a world where everyone performs vulnerability for likes and sympathy, the person who masters their pain in private and presents only strength in public, that person becomes untouchable. Not because they have no weakness, but because nobody knows where to strike. Lock 3. The vault. Money doesn't change you. It reveals how everyone else sees you. The moment people know your financial status, they stop seeing you. They see your utility, your wallet, your potential obligation to them. Watch what happens. You mention you're doing well financially. Suddenly every conversation has a hidden agenda. You should invest in this. Can you help me with that? You wouldn't even notice the money. Notice how you went from being a person to being a resource? Here's what old money understands that new money doesn't. Real wealth whispers, because power doesn't need to announce itself. When you display your income, you think you're displaying success. You're actually displaying vulnerability. Because now everyone knows what you can afford to lose, what they can ask you for, how much they need to take you down. The richest people I've ever met dressed like they worked middle management. They drove normal cars. They never mentioned money. Why? Because they learned that financial opacity creates strategic flexibility. When people underestimate your resources, they underestimate your options. They don't see you as competition. They don't prepare defenses. They show their full hand while you're still hiding yours. But the moment you reveal your income, every relationship recalibrates around it. Friends start keeping score. Family starts expecting contributions. Partners start adjusting their lifestyle expectations. And if you ever need to say no, you're the villain. Not because you're wrong, because you shattered their fantasy of access. Here's the deeper pattern. Silence about money isn't about secrecy. It's about maintaining the freedom to be seen for who you are, not what you have. You walk into a room, wealthy but quiet. People interact with you authentically. They judge your character, your ideas, your presence. You get real feedback, real connections, real respect based on substance. You walk in talking about your income. Every interaction becomes transactional. Every smile becomes suspect. Every relationship carries the question, would they still be here if I had nothing? So let them wonder, let them guess, Let them underestimate you completely. Because the person who is mysteriously comfortable but never explains how. That's the person everyone wants to understand, but nobody can manipulate. Lock 4. The battlefield. Your relationship is a private kingdom. The moment you turn it into a public spectacle, you've invited chaos to the throne. I see this everywhere. Someone has a fight with their partner. Within hours, it's on social media, in the group chat, vented to co-workers, shared with family. They think they're getting support. They're actually destroying respect. Here's what happens psychologically. Every time you broadcast relationship conflict, you're training your audience to see instability as your baseline. Not strength, not control. Instability. And people don't follow unstable leaders. They don't trust unstable business partners. They don't respect unstable friends. You become the person who has drama. And once that becomes your identity, everything you build sits on shaky ground. But here's what really kills you. The details you share in anger become permanent. You might forgive your partner, you might move forward. But everyone you told, they remember. They carry that grudge on your behalf. You reconcile. They still see your partner as the one who disrespected you. You say it's fine now. They don't believe you. Because they have evidence otherwise. Evidence you gave them. Now every family gathering is awkward. Every introduction carries judgment. You didn't just share a conflict. You poisoned every future interaction. Machiavelli would call this strategic incompetence. You damaged your own position for temporary emotional relief. And let's talk about what you're really doing. You're outsourcing your emotional regulation. You can't handle the conflict internally, so you spread it externally, hoping the validation will solve something. It doesn't. It compounds. Because now you've added public opinion to a private problem. Now you're not just managing your relationship, you're managing everyone's perception of your relationship. Here's the rule. The more sacred something is, the quieter it should be. If your relationship matters, protect it from public consumption. If it's hell, fix it with a professional or end it with dignity. But don't parade the fire for sympathy, because what you expose emotionally will be used strategically, not by enemies, by spectators who just want something interesting to talk about. If these secrets are hitting different, smash that like button, and if you know someone who talks too much, share this. You might just save them from themselves. Lock 5. The foundation. Your family history is not public property. Every time you explain your childhood trauma, your absent parent, your dysfunctional upbringing, you think you're being authentic. You think you're giving people context for who you are. You're giving them ammunition for who they'll decide you'll always be. Here's the brutal truth. People don't separate you from your origins. When you tell them about family chaos, they start looking for evidence of that chaos in you. Every mistake you make gets attributed to your broken foundation. Every success gets dismissed as compensation for your damaged past. You become a case study instead of a person. And here's what nobody admits. Most people don't care about your family problems. They collect them, they store them. And when your name comes up in conversation 6 months later, yeah, he's doing well now, but you know his background, right? You know what he came from? Your success gets footnoted by your struggle. Your present gets overshadowed by your past. This is why Stoics kept their personal pain private. Not because they were cold, but because they understood. Your wounds are your responsibility to heal, not your introduction to the world. Think about professional settings. You tell a colleague about your difficult family situation. They nod sympathetically. But the next time there's a high-stakes project, a leadership opportunity, a promotion decision, they pass on you. Why? Because subconsciously, they've labeled you as someone with background issues, someone who might be distracted, someone whose stability is questionable. You think you're being vulnerable, they think you're being a liability. And in relationships, the moment you detail your family dysfunction, your partner has new leverage. Not today. Not when things are good. But the second you have a fight? Maybe this is just how you are because of your parents. You're probably going to repeat what they did. I should have known, given where you came from. Your vulnerability becomes their escape clause. Here's what you do instead. You heal privately. You build privately. You master your demons behind closed doors. And when you finally emerge, let them see the result, not the process. Let them wonder how you built yourself. Let them guess what you overcame. Let mystery protect your dignity. Because once you broadcast family problems, you lose control of your narrative. And in this world, the narrative is everything. Lock 6. The Empire. Your long-term vision is sacred ground. The moment you share it, you've desecrated it. Here's the phenomenon nobody talks about. When you announce your goals, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical you'd get from actually achieving them. You talk about building a business. People applaud. You feel accomplished. Your brain thinks, mission complete. But nothing's been done. No product, no system, no real progress. Just a conversation that felt like victory. This is why most dreams die in discussion, not in execution. You shared the plan, got the validation, felt the high, and your unconscious mind marked it as complete. Why would you continue grinding when you already got the reward? But here's the darker layer. When you reveal long-term goals, you invite interference. Not just doubt. Active interference. That friend who's still stuck? Your ambition threatens them. Your 5-year plan exposes their lack of one. And threatened people don't cheer. They discourage. That's unrealistic. Why don't you focus on something more practical? Who do you think you are? They're not concerned for you. They're protecting themselves from the uncomfortable truth. They gave up, and you haven't. Now here's the strategic advantage of silence. When people don't know what you're building, they can't block it. They can't prepare defenses. They can't plant seeds of doubt before you start. They can't steal your ideas or replicate your strategy. You're invisible until you're unstoppable. Think about it this way. You're building a fortress. Would you give potential invaders the architectural blueprints before construction is finished? Would you show them exactly where the walls are weakest? Of course not. But that's exactly what you do when you share unfinished goals. The most powerful people in history understood this. They built in silence, then emerged with results so undeniable that criticism became irrelevant. You don't announce the empire. You reveal it when it's already standing. So stop seeking validation for your vision. Stop explaining yourself to people who never built anything. Stop giving free ammunition to those who profit from your failure. Move like a ghost, strike like lightning, arrive like a king. Let them see nothing until there's everything to see. Lock 7. The ghost. Your regrets are not confessions. They're not bonding experiences. They're not proof of your authenticity. They're weapons you're handing to future enemies. Every time you reveal your biggest failure, your deepest shame, your most painful past decision, you think you're being real. You think you're connecting. You're creating leverage against yourself. Here's what actually happens. People store your regrets like insurance policies. Today they nod sympathetically. They share their own struggles. It feels like mutual understanding. But 6 months from now, when you're thriving and they're stuck, when you set a boundary they don't like, when you succeed in a way that threatens them, funny how you act like you're better now. Weren't you the same person who you think you've changed? Your past becomes their weapon. Your growth becomes their target. Your transformation becomes their evidence that you're still secretly broken. This is why Machiavelli warned about being loved versus being feared. Regret invites sympathy, and sympathy invites disrespect. People don't respect who you were, and if you keep reminding them of who you were, they'll never respect who you're becoming. Think about this. Your past is more interesting to others than your future. Why? Because it gives them a story where you're flawed, vulnerable, controllable. Your future is threatening, your present is intimidating, but your past, that's safe. That's where they can keep you small in their mind. So when you confess your regrets, you're essentially saying, here's proof I can be broken. Here's evidence of my weakness. Here's where to strike if you ever need to. And people remember. Always. You might forgive yourself. You might grow past it. You might become someone completely different. But that person you told, they've frozen you in that moment of regret forever. Here's what strong people do. They turn regret into silent fuel. They use past mistakes as private lessons. They let the pain shape their discipline without becoming their story. Your biggest failures should make you sharper, not more open, harder, not more vulnerable, more careful, not more confessional. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Real bravery isn't confessing everything. It's mastering your past so completely that you don't need anyone's understanding or validation. Let your future be so dominant it makes your past irrelevant. Don't deny where you came from. Just never share it where it can be weaponized, repeated, or used to define your ceiling. From today forward, remember, my regret is my discipline, not my introduction, not my excuse, not my talking point. If someone asks about your past mistakes, smile and say, I'm more interested in what I'm building than what I've left behind. Then change the subject and watch how your mysteriousness becomes your magnetism. 7 locks, 7 secrets, 7 pieces of information that, once revealed, shift you from dangerous to predictable. Most people will ignore this. They'll keep oversharing, over-explaining, overexposing themselves. They'll wonder why they keep getting betrayed, blocked, and beaten by people who knew their moves before they made them. But you're different. You're still here. That means you understand something most don't. In a world where everyone broadcasts everything, silence is the ultimate power move. So from this moment forward, you move differently. You speak less. You reveal nothing. You build in the shadows and emerge in the light only when victory is already secured. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them talk. But never again will you hand them the weapons they'll use against you. Guard these 7 locks like your life depends on it. Because it does. You just gained what most people will never understand. Subscribe so you never miss the next weapon. Like if you're ready to move in silence, share with the few who deserve this knowledge. The 1% is built one person at a time.